This podcast and its related content are intended for listeners aged 18 and above. Some episodes may include sensitive topics such as trauma, abuse, or mental health struggles that could be emotionally triggering or distressing. Listener discretion is strongly advised. This podcast is created for educational and awareness purpose only and does not constitute legal, medical, or psychological advice. Welcome to Sunoh, the listening circle. The name Sunoh in Hindi means to listen and, more importantly, to be understood. This podcast aims to create a circle of understanding for South Asian women primarily and anyone else who may be interested in these topics, from changing family structures to work-life balance, motherhood, singlehood, and much more. We are hoping to shake off stigma one conversation at a time. This season, we are looking at separation and divorce in the South Asian context. And I'm your host, Harveen. So today's guest has a story that speaks about not just reinvention, but of someone who took the reins of her life in her hands to make sure she is leading a fulfilling and complete life for herself. Taking and owning that power has been a big journey for her. Although she studied law, she was drawn to management and business roles, especially in the beauty and wellness space, where she also held some leadership positions. Her entrepreneurial journey began in Canada, where she launched her own jewelry brand, and now being back in India, she's working for a beauty and wellness company. Welcome to our podcast. So happy to have you with us today, and thank you for agreeing to share your story with our listeners.
Thank you so much, Harveed, for having me here. And I am very happy to share my story with all of you. And I hope that some of you can resonate with this.
Some of the stories of the struggles in South Asian marriages are equally heartbreaking and somewhat frustrating to hear that despite the time and age we are living in, there is a commonality that hardworking, educated women too are still facing and fighting against treatment that should not be tolerated for anyone, whether physically, emotionally, financially. And we bring these stories out into the open so they don't remain hidden under the carpet and keep other women trapped in shame and stigma. So I want to jump right in to ask you your thoughts on being on our podcast and your willingness to share your story openly. What motivates you to be here with us today?
I think to start with, it's not even about the marriage, I would say. It's more about the experience. So when I talk about my past, it's not only the marriage that I would want to concentrate on, because I think marriage is a huge part of anyone's life, and we try to define ourselves through people that we are with. But then I personally feel that why I wanted to share my story was that what actually made me choose the person that I chose. I think everything comes down to that. The kind of experiences you have in your childhood, I think that's what leads you to probably be the person that you become or to choose a person that you will marry. So I think everything is very interconnected, interdependent. So I was married to this person for 8 years. But then today, when I look back and I see how everything unfolded for me, I think whatever the person that I am today, it is because of whatever experiences I had, including that marriage. So that marriage was as important as anything else in my life.
You've reflected so much on this and have had time to think and process about what were the root causes of your own choices and patterns. I also like that you said that marriage is just one thing out of many facets of your life that make you who you are, your childhood, your education, all the other experiences that you're having. And this is also the reason why we are here today, that we can know a bit more about your journey and your story so that through that we can have a glimmer of hope for a lot of other people who might be struggling now, but that they can look back and see that how this adversity is not what's the only thing that's going to define them, but in fact can be a game changer in a very positive direction. So with that, if you could tell us a bit more about your background, your growing up years, and how they shaped your outlook to life. What kind of family did you grow up in?
I belong to a very urban family. Both parents, they were working and they were in good jobs. I have two siblings. I have a younger sister and then I have a younger brother. So I think how my childhood shaped me was, as a child, I always felt that I was not good looking and I was a very average student in school. So I always had that inferiority complex about myself. I always felt that I was the lesser person in the room. So be it at home or at school or then growing up in college as well. So everything became a performance for me just to, feel validated, to do things for others so that, others can see good in me. So that was one part of my personality, which I think really impacted me later on in life, and which now when I look back and I see that how my choices led to what happened with my marriage, right? So the another thing is, when I was a kid, I was just 12 years old, and I found out that my father was seeing another person. You can never imagine that, as a 12-year-old. But yes, as a 42-year-old woman, now I understand and see life differently. But then as a 12-year-old daughter, I felt betrayed. I think I felt more betrayed than my mother might have felt. And then also because I was also the elder daughter in the family, I felt that I had to be overprotected towards my siblings. So that was another thing I think that really impacted me. Why I want to touch on this? Because I think a lot of families go through this and a lot of probably kids go through this, but obviously as kids, you don't want to talk about it. And you start questioning yourself. When I found out, I actually questioned my father and he completely denied it. And my mother, rather than asking me if I was okay, she and my father, they became one team and I was on the other side. They both made me feel that what I was thinking was wrong and, there was nothing like that. When I was 20, my mother then told that, yes, I mean, that was always there and they're still seeing each other, and which my mother always knew. But then as a kid, when I confronted initially my father and then my mother also came in, they made me villain in the house, also in front of my siblings. So I was like literally left alone in the family, stating that I don't understand things or I make up things in my mind. So I think for me, these two things kind of put me off track about my own self, and I lost confidence. And then I started holding on to people and friendships and relationships where even if they make me feel a little good about myself, I would just cling on to them and I would just give my complete self to them, just to get that validation and just to get that acceptance, because I wasn't getting that in my own family. So I think that's what led me to some of my relationships when I was in college and then when I started working. So I always felt that I was not good looking and like you get bullied. So I was always called ugly duckling and all of that. So many names in school. So when my ex-husband, I think I remember he just mentioned once that you look very nice. And I was like, okay, this is the person I'm going to get married. So that was my standard, like, that even if he just gives me one liner that how I look, I literally held on to it and I went all in and I decided to marry him.
You've really connected the dots very neatly between your childhood experiences and your adult choices. And not everyone can do that. That's actually really perceptive of you. It also shows that you spent a lot of time working on yourself to figure all this out. And some of those experiences that you've shared must be very uncomfortable, and especially the personal comments as a child that you experienced would be quite horrible. But I can imagine that that's also the reason why the people pleasing or seeking to gain acceptance while feeling less than others can happen. And at the same time, maybe you felt uncertainty or insecurity also with your parents at the time.
I found out in a couple of weeks only that what I think is right, and they are just trying to tell me that I'm making up stories in my mind because they don't want to accept it. So I obviously resented both my parents equally. In fact, I think I resented my mother more than my father because I always felt that she had that opportunity to at least be truthful to me, if not to anyone else. So I always felt that like my mother always chose my father over for me and over the truth. So that I did not like that as a kid. But then today, as I said, I understand because those times were different. Of course, my mother, she had three kids and she probably at that time felt that it was safer for her and safer for kids to just be in the family and just run it as everything is okay. And honestly, now as a grown up, I see this is more prevalent around us than any one of us would agree. I think I know this. Like, she loved him dearly. That was also one of the reasons, because they also had a love marriage. They dated for some years before they got married. So there could be love, or there could also be sympathy. I don't know. Or the third thing could be that it was just easier to stay than to leave at that time for her, I think. Now that I just say this loud, that I think it was easier for her to stay than to leave. I think I always knew this, that if I would ever find myself in this situation, I would never stay. And I never stayed. And it was probably a very unconscious decision. I always knew that I would never do what she did with her own life. And I think that was probably something that helped me to move out of my own marriage when I found out that my husband was also cheating.
It's really strong of you, first of all, to be the one who was calling things out in the open, in a culture of silence. And do you think that was also true for your family on other topics? Were there taboo topics that were not being discussed openly in your house?
No, actually, no. Wherever I think they were wrong, they were wrong. But wherever they were right, they were absolutely right in how they lived and how they brought us up. They were very open about things. We used to talk about a lot of things. And in India, there is this disparity between boys and girls when they're born, right? So that wasn't there in our house. And they gave us whatever they could. And they spoke about a lot of things at home, about professional integrity and about how to lead life and all of that. Yeah, there was this one part which was a little dark. But then other than that, all three of us, they brought us up pretty well. So there were no taboo discussions. We were not putting everything under the carpet beside this very topic, at least for me.
And how did your parents' relationship also build your idea of romantic relationship?
So there was a lot of sacrifice from my mother. Obviously, one in the form of accepting him, even with another woman. That's a huge sacrifice for any human with some kind of self respect or integrity, to just keep being in a relationship when you know the other person is with someone else. And then I think another thing, she gave in very, very easily to my father for everything, like be it finances, be it like if my father would say that you don't need to go to your parents' house or whatever my father would say, she would just give in to him. So that's how I saw a marriage function. And I think that's what I replicated in my marriage too. I also started giving into my ex-husband very easily, be it the finances, because I thought that's how a wife should be. Like, just give away everything that you have, be it emotional, financial, or socially. Like you are literally just there to serve your husband and to make his life easy. That's what my mother did for my father. She only made his life easy. And I think that's what I did as well. I only tried to make his life easy, and in the process made my own life pretty living hell.
You said you were studying law. Can you take us through that journey of your education and then getting into professional career? That where around that time was the idea of marriage for you? And when did it become important that, okay, you know what, I now want to get married?
So I was doing very well for myself when I started to work. I was 25 and I was in a leadership role, and I was earning very well. I was doing very well for myself. Everything was great. Then in 2009, my mom passes away. So she has a heart attack, and that's when everything changed for me. Like in one night, our life changed forever. And my father literally locked himself in the room for almost 1 year. So it was just me, my sister, and my brother. And my brother was 13 years old at that time. So three of us were left because mom is not there. And my father is also nowhere to be seen. He was not going to work. He literally left everything for almost a year. And that's when, my nani, like my mom's mom, my grandmom, and my masi, my mom's sister, because I was the eldest one in the family, they started telling me that you have to get married now. Come what may, that's how you will put this family on track again. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen with you. So it was their idea that I should get married. So that's when I met my ex-husband, and we just met through a friend. We met at a party and it was very casual initially. And he was 9 years elder to me. So I've just lost my mom and my father is nowhere to be seen. And I am the eldest one and my brother is really young. Everything is fallen on my shoulders. And then this person comes along who is obviously more grounded generally, personality wise. So I was like, okay, you know, this is the person that I want to be with. We dated for a while, and I thought that this person would set me free. He would help me with my life, and this is the grounding that I was looking for. And then we ended up getting married within a year. When you just marry someone so that they fixes something in your life, that would not last very long. So even if they are very good in fixing something in your life, after an year or 2 years, probably you don't even need that fixing anymore. So I think marrying for the right reasons is very important. And it has to be a very conscious decision. Most of the times, I think young girls, me being one at that age, we literally take that decision for a very temporary feeling that we feel. I think we have to be very conscious about our lives. And this is not only for people who are going through a divorce or in a difficult marriage, but this is more for people who are starting off their life and trying to get married or trying to get settled.
First of all, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom because that must have been very hard and big shock. But also simultaneously having your father's absence and such young siblings, it would have felt like a lot of responsibility. And in parallel, all this family pressure to getting married. But it's also understandable that you found a person like your ex husband who was seemingly offering the stability and security that you were lacking at the time. But I like how you conclude this part to say that marrying someone for the right reasons is very critical because this is maybe just a temporary reason. And once it's done, what do you do next? So, when you were interacting with your ex husband during these periods of time, of early days of getting to know him, were there already any red flags that occur to you that you now, in hindsight, realize?
Oh, yes. So many of them. So while we were dating, there was this 8 months period before our engagement and our marriage. He was visiting me for my birthday just 2 months before our marriage. And when he had his flight from Delhi, and my friend was supposed to pick him up from the railway station and drop him to the airport. So there was this 3, 4 hours where I was not able to contact him and my friend. And I was working. So at that time, I was pretty busy at work. But then after I got married to him, after an year, I came to know that they both made out that very day. So things were there. If I would have just been a little more observant about certain things, I would have known. I think we all know what's going on, but it's just that most of the times we choose to ignore things just so that we can carry on with the fantasy of, believing that everything is good and everything's going to be good for us. But I think if anyone has that one tiny voice inside of you that tells you to recheck something, you should go and recheck that there and then.
It's a great tip because indeed hindsight can really teach us a lot. You at least have these very clear, specific examples. And I can also imagine that at that time, even if that slight doubt must have been there, maybe one would think that, okay, let's not rock the boat, let's carry on. So in your case, I'm assuming that's what happened. You got engaged and were getting married. How old were you?
I was 27.
Could you tell us then what were the dynamics at play from a cultural point of view for the wedding planning itself? Because also there was a cultural difference. He was near South India, you were from North India. How were those dynamics?
So obviously everything was done as per South Indian culture. So they have a huge family, hundreds of cousins. So the marriage was completely as per their tradition, and we did not have much say in it. And my father was very happy by that time that I was getting married. So he just completely gave in, to whatever they said. So all the ceremonies were as per South Indian tradition. I was doing the same thing that my mother did. I was just giving in to make it work. So I was becoming my own mother. I mean, I was giving in not only to make it work for my own self, but for my own family. Because now I think I became my mom to make my father happy, because my father was very happy with this marriage. I was also giving in to whatever they wanted and however they wanted.
It's so interesting that you say obviously South Indian culture, because it does imply that, how deep seated patriarchy is that makes us give in. Because I did the same. I had intercultural marriage as well. And many of these negotiations made it like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to fight over this issue. Maybe there'll be bigger battles in the future. So I really truly understand that you giving in to make this work and make this happen for other reasons. So, around this time that you got married, did you then move to South India? What were the early married life looking like?
I was in South India for 8 years while I was married to him. Initially, first 1 year, I would say it was just adjustment issues, normal couple issues, fighting and all of it. I think our major issues started almost 3 years in the marriage, wherein I got him with his cousin while we were married. And at that time, he was like, no, it doesn't mean anything. It was just a mistake. It was silly and all of that. So I again gave in. I was like, okay, fine. He said all his sorries and assured me that this would never happen again. It started from there. And then, I mean, it only got worse for me. So it started from an affair, and then a lot of financial burden came on my shoulder. He wanted to set up a business, so he took out a lot of loans on my name. And because I was earning well, I had my credit score very good. So he took out a lot of money on my name, and with the promise, obviously, that, he would be paying back to the banks. But it was just that it was easier to get money on my name than his name. My mother did the same thing. Like, whenever my father needed any money, she was always ready with the money. So I thought that's what a marriage is all about, that, you would just give everything your husband asks you to. And I did. I mean, I did believe in this as well, that, whatever we are building together. But then again, I think there were no checks. I did not have any mental checks. I did not speak to my friends and my family about it. And he used to tell me that, this is us and don't discuss this outside. And I did that again for validation and everything.
Yeah, like I think when you mention giving everything, and that's what you were trained and attuned to, in absence of any reality checks with friends and family, especially when something is gnawing at you, right? Like you always know that little something is wrong, but in a way, you also feel isolated when you were maybe in a different cultural setting, you are with different set of people, and hence then not talking to anyone.
You want to become one of them, and you would do anything and everything in your power to be one of them, because you're among this new family and new people and new culture. So you don't want to disappoint anyone at that point. All you think about is, again, image validation. You can give it different names, but it is just that we do all of this just to be in good books of people.
Of course, like trying to be the good wife, trying to find that stability and security within this person. And perhaps you were also in love in some way. This was your idea of romantic relationship that you were conditioned and exposed to. So maybe you can tell us a bit more on what other kind of issues started to transpire in your marriage, like especially how did you handle the whole situation with the financial aspect on one hand, the whole situation with the affair. How long did this go on?
I think all of this, like, it went on for almost 4 years. So in between, there were other issues as well. I was not feeling good about myself. Like, my health was going for a toss. I was literally on bed for like 15 days. I had to leave my job. I think it could be stress. My periods were all over the place. My hormones were all over the place. And at that point, I started to feel again physically very unattractive. And then became like a vicious circle. I'm feeling bad about myself. And then my health is going bad. Everything is just falling apart in my life. And there was just no way out. And the only way out at that time I saw was my ex husband, that everything is going wrong, but then at least he's still here. So I have to now give him everything to keep him with me. And then I remember in 2018 is when, I don't know how and from where, I found this strength in me. So my health was completely down. I became vegan for almost 1 year and I started to work out. I had put on a lot of weight. I was very, very unhealthy. So when I started to change my eating habits, I gave up on a lot of stuff. I gave up on alcohol completely. I gave up on any food that would have some kind of hormones in them, like milk or meat, everything. So I was completely on green vegetables and fruits and I started to work out. It's when honestly everything changed for me. My perspective on life changed. It was like a fresh me and I understood things differently. I gained the strength and I started having very honest conversations with my ex-husband. And that's when our marriage started to fall apart because our marriage was only intact till the time I was speaking what he wanted to hear. And the day the honest conversations started to happen, where I started to question him, or question where we are going as a couple, or question his choices and then my choices and all of it, it became very uncomfortable for him. And that's when we started having those fights. And last 2, 3 months were very, very difficult for me. Being in that house, I felt very unsafe. There was a lot of physical abuse as well. So there, and then I knew that there was obviously no love. I was still in my head that I'm married to this guy, and still there is some love, right? But then when the physical abuse started, and when every question that I asked, the answer came in a way of a slap, or he would just grab me from my neck. I mean, everything became clear then, yeah. And that's the time I packed my bags and I came back.
I'm sorry to hear that this was such a terrible situation that you were in, and I can only imagine the emotional toll this must have taken on you. And then also finding that courage to leave. First of all, I'm glad that you did leave, but I'm also glad that the honest conversations part was a game changer in realizing that this marriage was a farce because it was hanging on to just you being agreeable to him. And then to understand this better, that, how did you then continue during those last months? What were the considerations for you to continue to stay? And at what point did it finally become clear that this is it?
No, I knew. I mean, I think I knew within like a week's time when we had those physical episodes, I knew that I don't want to be here. But I was still there for almost like a month or two more. And that was only because of my job. I just couldn't leave my job. I just could not do that because I have had a long association with the company and I needed the money at that time because he had completely used all my money. I didn't have anything at that point. So I needed some money before I could leave that place. So that's why I was there for another 2 months.
Yeah, that must have been a really hard time to stay while you knew that mentally you were checked out and you wanted to get away. And did you ever contact any authorities or any support or family?
All I did was I used to just lock myself in the room after coming from work. That's the only thing I could think of. And I was just waiting to make that much money and just leave the city. And I did that. I did speak to my sister after a month, and she helped me move out of that house. She's always been there for me because obviously mom is not there. And then our father also, he wasn't, now he's bedridden from last 4 years. And I think both of us have been like major, major support in each other's life. And I would say all my sanity belongs to her in a way.
How was the support around you besides your sister after you got back, after you shared your story?
Yeah, my family supported me pretty well. My father, my brother, and my sister's husband. I mean, the family was there completely, 100%. And some of my childhood friends, they were also there with me. I did file a case. So he had a lot of my things with him. And what I came to know was as soon as I moved back, he sold my car. So it's illegal for him to sell my things, right? And he did that. There were other things as well. So we did do an FIR on him. But then I must say that Indian law system, or there's something called as women's cell, which is supposedly to protect women. It's such a sad state of affairs there. So there would be a lot of women officers there, but then the way they will treat you, like you would just feel that you're a criminal yourself. So, I mean, it's really, really bad. My family did come with me to the police station and they would just keep calling you. Like every week they would call you and they will not do anything. They will just make you sit there like you have no business and no work. And you will just sit there till evening and they will just treat you so badly. So my family did come with me to the women's cell a couple of times, but I could not see my sister or my brother or my father sitting there. So I told them that if I have to do, I have to do this alone because that was more difficult for me to see them sitting in the police station, every week. So I used to go there alone and I went to all my court dates and all the police station visits all by myself. It was very, very taxing, of course. Indian law system is no good for girls. They say it's made for girls and all of that, but nothing. I did not even get so. He owed me a lot of money, and it's been now we got divorced. It's been 4 years. I have not even gotten a single penny. Forget the alimony or anything. I did not even get what belonged to me. I did not even get that.
It's first of all ironic that the women's cell, whose role is to protect the women and be there to get them justice, are a part of the deterrence for justice because they do create this intimidating environment around you, and that you then decided to do that on your own and also doing the court dates. Because while I didn't go to the women's cell, but I remember just the court environment itself being very intimidating, with everything is just open and anyone is listening to your story. Kudos to you for having the courage to see that through on your own. And for those listeners who also may be non-Indian and non-South Asian audience, I just want to clarify that an FIR means first information report that has to be filed with the police when any crime takes place. So coming back to then where you were situated at this time, were you at your father's house or your sister's house, or what was your living situation when you were going through all this, and how long did that continue?
Yeah, so initially I was at my sister's house for almost 5 months, I think, and then I shifted to my father's house. And I stayed with my father and my brother for almost 3 years. Then COVID happened and all of it.
That whole space of the courtrooms, the women's cell, can be a challenging environment, and having to also repeat your story sometimes can be triggering or confusing. Did you take any legal help around that time? And what was your own feeling about being there on your own? Did you feel that as if you were lacking any protection from your family or man? Like, how did you feel during that process?
That's such a valid question. And it feels like it comes from someone who has personally felt that. Because I think only if you go through this, you would know this. So, yes, I did take legal help, but it was of no use. So, what happens here in India is when you're going through something, I feel, especially if you're a girl, everyone wants a piece of you at that time. It could be your money, it could be that you're vulnerable. So it became very, very confusing for me. I did have a legal aid, but all he did was just took money from me and did not help me at all. All in all, why I gave up on this case and why I did not fight it more because, I was only losing money, time, and peace of mind. I wasn't gaining anything. So I actually, at the end, I had to bow down to him and I had to tell him that I am sorry. All I want is to sign on the divorce papers so that, you're your own way and I'm on my own way. There is zero protection, literally no one that comes to your rescue. All you get is blames. As you said, they keep on asking you different questions, they keep on asking you to repeat your stories. And while you're repeating your stories, they'll put you in that situation where you will start doubting your own self. It takes a huge mental toll on you. A lot of people would no, but then if it was like this, why you didn't do it? Like, I mean, when you're in a relationship, you do 100 things and there are no reasons for that. You just do it because you're in a relationship, right? So, but then how people would completely try to change your narrative and just trying to make sure that you accept that you were wrong somewhere. And I also started doing that. I started questioning my own integrity. Maybe that I was wrong. Maybe that I could not give him enough money. Maybe I could not stand with him more. I did not be the good wife that he deserved. But then I did find my strength somewhere in my own self and a little bit in my sister. That's about it. But yes, yes, I did feel that I would have loved if there was a man, because in India, you need a man to stand by you. It could be your father, your brother, your husband, or your boyfriend, or whoever. My brother was way too young at that time, and my father was just too old, I think. So, yeah, there was just no one. And I thought it was easier for me to just give up on this fight. And then obviously, COVID happened and everything was shut down, the courts were shut down. So, my life wasn't going anywhere.
And during this process, was there also any interaction at the time with your ex-husband? Did that cause more fear and anxiety for you because of his past violent actions as well? How was that going on in parallel?
No, actually, there was no interaction between me and him because there was this first information report against him, the FIR. So he was literally just hiding somewhere. So there was no interaction. He literally just ghosted me. I mean, the marriage was just literally over the day I came back. So if there was anything more to this marriage than the convenience and the money part, he would have followed up with me. But there was just no follow up. There was just nothing. I filed a case and the marriage was over between us. We never interacted after that. Never. The only day I remember interacting with him was after 3 years when we signed the papers.
So you tried to press the charges earlier and get a divorce for cause, but the whole process got so complicated, as you said, that you weren't getting the repayment for the different things and also the legal support, and your mental and financial well-being was more important here at that stage. Can you tell me a bit more about that time frame? At what point then in these 3 years did you decide that I'm going for the mutual consent divorce and I don't want anything? And why did it take 3 years, the whole process?
So the first year is just that you file the case. They take a lot of time and, initial investigation and all of that. They try to contact the other party and he was nowhere to be found. So that took like 6, 7, 8 months. And then nothing is moving much. He's just evading them, evading the calls. You can do that in India. You just need to give some money to the police. You just need to bribe them and they will just write a comment that the person is not traceable. And then this file will just go and sit somewhere for another 2 months. So it's the whole process, which is completely flawed. So that happened and COVID happened. Then there was 1 year shutdown. The courts were shut down. And then in 2021, when everything restarted, and it's when we started going to the court. But then nothing was moving. He would never show up at the court dates. He would just give some or the other reason he's not well. He would give a doctor certificate, and then the court would just give another date, which would be after 2 months or so. I was not able to work anywhere. My life wasn't going anywhere. And then there was another thing. I did meet another person while one day I was at the court, and I met this female, and she was 52 years old or something. She was talking very aggressively to some of the people, and I overheard her. She was like not crying, she was shouting, but in a very sad way. So she had an argument with some people, and then she was just standing alone, and she was very hassled. And I was in the same court. So I assumed that she might have also have a case here. So I just went up to her because I was myself very distressed with the whole situation that this is not going anywhere. So I went to her and I asked her, what's up with you? And she was like, it's been 10 years that her case is going on and the guy doesn't show up. I said, 10 years and no one has been able to help you? And she's like, yes, my life is complete. Like, I've not moved an inch. All I'm doing is I just show up here every time I have a date, and my husband never shows up, and we are not able to move ahead anywhere. There's nothing. And then she asked me, what about you? And I was like, it's been almost 2.5 years. She was like, honestly, you're young and you might have a life ahead. So don't give in here. Trust me, you're not going to find anything coming here and fighting for your rights and all because we don't have any rights here. So when I came back home, I obviously cried a lot and I had like mental breakdown that, what is this? And that I'm also going to be like, for 10 years, I'll just keep going to the court and, nothing's going to happen. And then I think that was the time I took the decision that forget it. I'm just going to say that I don't want anything. All I want is divorce. Just sign the papers. I'm going to take back all the charges and everything. I think I made that call next week. After this incident, I made the call to him. And as soon as I told him that I don't need anything from you, it's like, yeah, yeah, I'll just come. And he actually came within a week and he signed the papers and it was done.
I mean, first of all, it's insane that for that woman you met, it was 10 years and this man is a no-show. And how are we to continue advocating for rights for women and more protection and better regulations when the legal system makes it so hard that these things can go on so long? And the only way to win and get your life back is to give up.
And also in 2021, we are not talking in the 80s or 90s.
And I think the only silver lining I would see here is that you reached out to this other woman who was seeming hassled and you connected with her on a human level, but also learned a life lesson from her to then make that as your learning lesson. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. So then you had taken a lot of the steps, and I imagine there was a lot of emotion and confusion, but you must have had some clarity that now I'm taking this call and I'm going for a mutual consent. Now, when you look back, how do you make sense of how you ended up in the situation you were in? An early question, you were mentioning a few things, but maybe we can reflect on that now. Were there things you can say about the wider culture also that had a role in the dynamics that were at play?
I think there's too many things to it. You can't really, I don't think you can pinpoint one of those things. I think there were many reasons to it. As there could be many reasons for a successful marriage or a successful relationship, I think there are many reasons for a failed marriage and a failed relationship. And for me, I would begin from saying that I think I married for the wrong reasons. When you marry just to get settled, or you just get married because you are at a certain age, or you get married so that your family is happy, or you get married just because you want to be accepted in your friends because all of your friends are married, or you get married just so that you think that the guy can give you a better life financially or socially, or if you get married just so that you can have children. So I think all of these reasons are completely wrong reasons of getting married. I personally feel the only reason one should get married to another human or to be in a relationship with another human is when that human brings peace to you. If that's not there, nothing that the other person can give would be any more valuable than the peace. If the peace is not there, then nothing matters. If you always feel that you have to be on your toes, if you always feel you have to always keep proving yourself to remain married, then I think you're in a wrong marriage.
So today you are about 4 years past the finalization of your divorce, is it?
Yes, yes.
So can you walk us a bit through your evolution post-divorce?
Oh my God, I don't even recognize myself. So when I was married to this person, I was in my 30s. I got married when I was 28 and then I was married for 8 years. And I used to actually look like that I was 55 or 60-year old. That's how I used to look. So I think whatever is inside you, it is external. Everything is interconnected. And then it was almost when this thing ended for me, it was like such a big load was taken off my shoulder. And I have only and only evolved, not only to become a better person, but I'm actually coming back to myself now. I'm actually coming back to the person I was when I was in college, or the person who had a lot of dreams. And that's why I'm now pursuing my dreams completely without any distractions, without any confusions, without any second thoughts, without thinking that me doing something would make another person feel smaller of themselves or would make them feel bad about themselves. Because that's what we as women, we don't completely come into our power because we feel if we do that, the other person might feel uncomfortable. It is so important to hold space for your own self and your standing for others to actually see you in that light. You have to become what you are looking for first. I am not saying I'm there. Obviously, every day I'm learning new things, every day I'm evolving. But then from last 10 years, I'm a completely different person, but I'm very similar to how I was when I was in college or when I just started to work. I have the same excitement about my life. I have the same zeal. I have the same joy and happiness. And that is what I think tells me that I'm on the right path.
I'm going to repeat what you said. You said you have to become what you're looking for first. And actually, I can hear the excitement. Like the moment I asked you this question, your tone changed, your smile changed, that I can really see a lot of hope and dreams reflected in your face as well. And coming back to yourself must have meant a lot. And while no one wishes the kind of marriage you had on anyone, today you've moved into a place of power, and not in spite of, but even drawing on your experience, so that you're not living in that insecurity and looking for someone outside yourself. So this is very, very inspiring. And thanks for sharing that with us. And since we're talking about more futuristic things and moving forward, at what point did you also maybe start thinking that, have I healed enough? Am I at a point in time where I still want to have a relationship, or you started dating? What time frame or what has been that journey for you?
I think that's very tricky. And for me, I can speak about myself, but then I think it's very personal, like how much time do you think is enough for you to heal before you actually move on to dating someone or actually looking for a serious relationship or a marriage, maybe, or a long term relationship. But then again, I would just come back to the same thing that I said before, that where I am right now mentally is I know what I want and I know who I am. Actually, before what I want, I think I know who I am. And now, whatever person would come along in my life will have to accept me as I am. Only then I think we both will be able to have a fulfilling relationship. So it has to be a very mutual thing. Like, you have to give that space and that respect to their existence as much as you want that they should give to your existence. I think your relationships gets complicated is when we try to, change each other or change ourselves to just be accepted or to make the relationship work. I think I would want my future relationship to be wherein I am myself and the other person is themselves. And then we walk together, giving equal respect and love to each other. But again, as I said, I think I'm still in the process, but I think I'm getting there. And I think the person who is meant for me might also be getting there, and we will eventually meet wherever we are destined to meet.
I think we're all in the process. I would say the same for me. And I think what you're also describing very clearly is that a kind of enmeshment as being unhealthy, where you have to change drastically for each other and you are dependent on that being the way to fix things also, versus being individuals who join together and remain individuals while supporting each other. And of course, there can be some points of disagreement, but you find a healthy way to balance that without changing each other. This also takes me back to something you had mentioned earlier, that, at some point during your divorce process, you were also thinking of moving to Canada. So I'm curious, why Canada? Of course, for a lot of North Indians, we do have a lot of people in Canada. Was it because of that you had family or relatives there? Or was it a work opportunity? Or you just wanted a fresh, clean start in a different place?
Yeah, I think it was more of that. It was just for a fresh, clean start. I mean, that's what I think I was looking for. And I thought that it would help me, and I think it did help me. I got the time and the opportunity to be by myself and reflect on many things. And it also gave me the time and space to actually start my entrepreneurial journey there, wherein I could think about the brand and, how I want everything to fall in its place and how I want the communication to be. So it gave me a lot of time to rearrange my life and rearrange my thought process and revamp everything about myself. But then why I came back to India after staying there for almost 3.5 years was because I was missing my family a lot. As I mentioned before, I'm very close to my sister and to my brother, and I actually want to spend quality time with my family. And then another thing, I think India right now is at a point where the businesses are doing pretty well here. So I see a lot of opportunity for my brand. I see a lot of potential here. So I want to work on it completely.
You were not only recovering from the divorce and the aftermath, but you were launching yourself and a new business, and that too in a different country. Let's not overlook that. And it's such a nice full circle moment that, you're back in India now and continuing that personal and professional journey with your business and the relaunch. I just love it. This is truly inspiring for our listeners. I also want to ask you, before you went to Canada or even now, have you confronted any stereotypes and labels? How do you tackle that in your day to day? Was it different in Canada in any way, or it did not ever come up?
No, it didn't come up while I was in Canada. What I think came up for me there was there's a lot of isolation there. That was one thing that kind of troubled me. But other than that, people, I mean, they're much more busier or they have much more isolating lives there as compared to India. In India, everyone is getting inside each other's business, but obviously things are different there. So I did miss that part initially, but then, there is pros and cons to everything. Yeah, there is isolation, but then there is the space where you can work on yourself. And in India, the support system is really, really here, but then sometimes you don't get time for yourself. So, yeah, that's why I thought that for me right now, it'll be really nice to be in between both the places because sometimes I do need support system and sometimes I need time by myself. So, I mean, Canada has been great. I mean, it has given me a lot. I've learned a lot while I was there, though I was alone and everything. There have been some days where I felt really, really alone and sad, but then there were some days which taught me a lot. And I'm bringing all of that back now in my brand and in my personal and professional life. I'm actually very, very excited for next 10 years of my life. I actually feel this is my time because now I have all the tools, all the emotional tools, all the professional tools. And now I've built myself financially also this much that I can now, launch a brand. So I have all the tools to make my life what I always wanted it to be. And I've been very, very blessed in many ways. I would say never ever take your adversities as something that pulls you down. It really only makes you go up, but move forward and not be afraid of it. Everything falls into place. All you have to do is you have to just get up and get going.
That's fantastic to hear that that's been your journey and experience. And I'm just wondering that also with divorce in India has sometimes certain taboo or people have faced certain stigma or challenges after being divorced. Has that been something you've been exposed to while being in India, or has it been just a clean slate and it hasn't come up?
No, it's like, of course, in India, it has more than in Canada. Not from my family, because, the family and friends that I have here, they're very supportive. But then if you go outside the circle of your family and friends, then there are definitely some taunts and some comments and people sympathizes with you. Like you're actually happy that you're out of that marriage, but people have this way, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Or they would say that, oh my God, don't you feel lonely? Don't you want a husband? Don't you want a child? Like it used to trigger me back then. But now all I do is I laugh about it. And so there is this problem that I faced. And I don't know if other girls, I think it's probably for most of the girls who are going through divorce. When I came back to India, men start treating you in a very different way. They would just think that now that you're going through a divorce and you're in this vulnerable state. And this was like, some of my friends' husbands, they did pass some comments or they did try to talk something which was not very nice and did not make me comfortable or did not make me feel good about myself or about my friend that she's actually married to him. So there were 2, 3 people like this that I met during those times. And all I did was I would just never meet them again.
Even hearing from so many other women, it's the same thing. Almost every one of them says that everyone hates that when people say that you're sorry. I think maybe one day we have to start a campaign online. Don't say sorry when you hear someone is divorced. First, hear their story because maybe they got out of something and they're finally living a free, happier life, It could be the best thing that happened to them.
So I think it usually is the best thing that happens, because you will only get divorced when you're not happy. And if something is ending which is not good and happy for you, then it's actually a good thing only. How does that become a bad thing?
Yeah, and I think that's just the way just our cultures are rooted into, what everyone believes or what marriage is. So, and what would you say to those women who find themselves stuck and somewhere they know what's happening is not right, but are waiting for sometimes things to become bad? What would you say to them today from your experience?
I would just say that if you want your life to get better, you have to get up and change it yourself. There's no one coming to change it for you. So take things in your hand right now, like today. Today should be the day that you change everything about your life and make it exactly how you want it to be. That's what I would say.
And is there something that we haven't yet asked you before we end the episode that you would still like to share and it's on your mind?
I want to emphasize on this a lot. For everyone, it's not only for women or women who are going through divorce, it's for every human. Just try to live consciously, make conscious decisions. Make decisions that mean something to you. And just don't make decisions for the sake of making one. Every small decision matters and will actually make or break your life. So be very mindful of your life. We only have one, so we should give every wisdom that we have learned over the years in making our lives better for us.
What a beautiful way to end this episode. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story with us. I know it will help a lot of people get perspective on their own situation and to realize that these kind of things are happening today to people you may least expect. And we all need to be part of creating a culture where we can freely talk about it and treat it as that, here is a tumultuous journey incident that happened. But then there are also fantastic examples like yours on how you can reinvent yourself and lead a much more fulfilling life. That this aspect of their life where some big adversity happened becomes a thing of the past and it no longer defines them or carries that weight. So thank you so much for being here. Lovely talking to you.
Lovely talking to you as well.
There's a lot I took away from this conversation. The power that comes from realizing a harmful pattern from our past and breaking out of it, like did in leaving her marriage, something her mother had not been able to do. And also the insights he shared about how the legal system can be weaponized and how she faced that basically alone and made the decision to free herself. Betrayal of any kind in life can leave a lasting imprint on one's psychology, and whether it be that by your partner or any other loved one. Overcoming that, along with other forms of grief, trauma, is no easy feat, but it is surely possible with a good support system, as well as your own determination to change your circumstances. He says, no one else is coming to change your life for you. It's not always easy, but it's worth it.
Thank you for joining us. If you valued this conversation, please share the podcast, rate it, and subscribe to Sunoh wherever you get your podcast from, so that you get notifications with each new episode. It helps more people to find us and join this community. You can also find all the details about the guests in the show notes as well as on our social media pages. Please note that this podcast is for informational purposes only and does not replace legal, therapeutic, or other professional guidance that you or someone close to you may need catering to their specific situation. If you are in a dangerous situation, please contact the nearest hotline or authorities where you can find the help you need. Since our podcast caters to global audience, we are unable to share a lot of country-wide resources, but I'm sure your country, your state, your city, wherever you're listening from, has some resources available for you. To share your story or feedback, please reach out to us. Thank you for listening.